Did you see the video put out earlier about quantitative easing? Yes, I did. Most everything mentioned there was actually bull. Quantitative easing is a useful tool that is economically sound in certain situations. It actually can help us become more competitive in exports for one thing. The problem is that corporations would rather turn people against the Fed by spouting half-truths and making it appear as if it is the corporations and big banks that actually benefit from quantitative easing instead of the American economy as a whole. It's the old reverse psychology, a switcheroo. What action are people pointing to and calling quantitative easing right now anyway, and what does it mean? They are referring to the Federal Reserve's announcement that it will purchase $600 billion in U.S. Treasury bonds. It is a strategy to stimulate the economy by lowering mortgage and other interest rates. You mean the Fed and the Obama administration are taking steps to help our economy and not working to damage our own financials as some have claimed? Exactly. Why would the so-called concerned citizens say this is a bad idea? That is a very good question, and it is unlikely that even they really know themselves. They are just spewing talking points which are handed down by the big wigs they supposedly despise. It really is propaganda at its best, psychological warfare on the American people, some might say. Tell me more about quantitative easing and what it means. All countries want to increase their exports, and quantitative easing is one way you can do that. The process does make currency weaker, and that would mean our exports would be cheaper in other countries, driving up demand. Now we already know interest rates are low in the US, and quantitative easing may drop them even further, especially the long-term rates. When interest rates go down in the US, that will encourage investors to take their money out of the US and put it into other countries, and when that happens it will actually drive the value of other currencies up, which will hurt those countries' exports. So having a weaker currency might be a good thing in some cases, yes, especially if you live in the country everyone likes to export to, and especially if you need to increase manufacturing jobs in your own country. President Obama has declared an ambitious goal of dramatically increasing our exports. A weaker dollar would do exactly that. It would help boost our exports, and it is going to increase the number of jobs in export-driven sectors in the United States, which means there are going to be more jobs in the manufacturing sector for things we make and export, because our exports are going to become cheaper in other countries. At the same time, our imports are going to get a little more expensive, so there will be less demand for imported products, and that will open up opportunities for American manufacturers. Oh, and don't forget, those guys will be able to invest in their own businesses more easily, because our long-term rates will be going down due to the quantitative easing. What about inflation? The risk of significant inflation is negligible. However, it is a great way to scare the American people and to keep us in line. Interesting, but won't this quantitative easing raise the value of the Chinese currency, and isn't that a bad thing for the US? Unlikely. The Chinese currency actually doesn't float against the dollar because the Chinese government intervenes to keep the value of the yuan fixed. In other words, they keep their currency weak to boost exports. Sound familiar? Well, I'm still not sure if this is the right thing to do or not, but we are still in a crisis, so taking some action to help, even with a slight risk of some inflation, seems smarter than just letting the economy flail around for another couple of years. It seems to me the government is working to strengthen our economy, while corporate interests take pot shots at the Fed, hoping for reductions in the Fed's power or even its demise. By the way, you said on another video that everything costs more than a year ago. Why did you say that? That wasn't me, it was my evil twin. He is a pathological liar and spends all of his time propagandizing for the right wing and corporate interests. Taxes have not increased under Obama, they have decreased. It is true that consumer goods have increased slightly, but this has happened every year since 1956. So what? If you would like to learn some facts about these arguments instead of listening to talking dog cartoons, you should check out treasury.gov and also look up the consumer price indexes. Sound bites are for sheep, and pseudo-knowledge is dangerous. Educate yourself rather than being directed by interests you don't even fully understand. Oh, and anyone who wants to make a movie like this with any information of factual basis or completely made up can visit extranormal.com. Anyone can do it, so don't believe the hype. Talking bears are no smarter than you.